corruption or abuse. Parliamentarians must be allowed to do this freely, without fear of repression. Parliament cannot fulfill its role in holding the executive to account. Parliamentarians have a responsibility to create and safeguard laws that protect freedom of speech for everyone else. And they may also pass additional laws such as a right to information that helps the general public to hold the government to account. Parliaments also have a crucial role in safeguarding media freedoms, ensuring journalists are not targeted for what they write and that media outlets are free from government harassment. From my own personal experience, obviously, there can be a huge step change in the way parliaments operate since the Maldives became a democracy in 2008. Prior to 2008, Maldives was a one-man authoritarian state, and any criticism of the government of president, whether it was by an MP or a citizen, invariably led to one place, a jail cell. I have spent many years in a Maldives prison cells precisely for calling the government to account while sitting as an MP in parliament. Since the Maldives transition to democracy, things have improved to no end. But we still have issues, and parliament must remain vigilant. Democracy is a process, not an end destination. We need only to look to the United States last year to see how quickly democracy can unravel and how close one of the world's oldest democracies was to falling prey to authoritarian rule. As a general rule, from my observation in the Maldives, government would always want shortcuts and supremacy. It doesn't matter if the government was democratically elected or not. Power tends to corrupt, and officials and ministers need to show quick results. My friend, Honorable Speaker of the local Sabha, thank you ever so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency.
And I am pleased to say that I'm working very soon. And thank you very much. I hope to be back.
Get soon, early, Speaker.
Thank you very much.
मैं मंगोलिया early, Speaker. मैं मंगोलिया के महामहिम गंबोजो जडन शतर्जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं अपने विचार व्यक्त करने के लिए।
President of the IPU, Your Excellency Mr. Birla, Speaker of the Sabha, Honorable Speakers of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to extend my heartfelt greetings and congratulations to you on the commemoration of the centennial anniversary of the All India Presiding Officers Conference, as well as the occasion of the International Day of Democracy. I believe today's gathering on this day of dual celebrations making such an auspicious occasion the role of legislator in promoting effective and meaningful democracy is both truly noteworthy and timely event. Recently, during the 5th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament in Austria, I had the opportunity to meet with Your Excellency Mr. Birla, Speaker of the Lok Sabha of the Republic of India, and I was delighted to have had the opportunity to hold a pleasant conversation with you, and I would like to reiterate the further strengthening of the friendly relations between our two countries, including the cooperation between our two legislative bodies. We attach great importance to the ever-growing development of bilateral relations with the Republic of India, the strategic partner and spiritual neighbor of Mongolia. It is gratifying to note that our country's long-standing friendly relations, which is based on common democratic values and unique spiritual and cultural ties, are expanding day by day. The development of democratic processes is significantly advancing across countries around the world, no matter their distinct cultural, ethnic, religious, political, and economic development characteristics. For instance, India remains one of the largest democracies, not only in the region, but across the global sphere. While successfully developing democracy in the region, Mongolia has become a clear example of vibrant democracy in this region. As a strong supporter of democratic governance around the world, and as a former presidency of Community of Democracies and the current member of state of its governing council, Mongolia is committed to contributing to the further strengthening of democracy, not only in the region, but also across the world. We are happy to engaging in active and open cooperation with the Republic of India and other countries in this area. The year of 2020 marked the 30th anniversary of the establishment of permanent parliament in Mongolia. Among the Asian countries whose political systems have gradually changed since 1990, Mongolia's role as a model of democracy is connected to a greater extent by its parliamentary activities. As a parliamentary democracy, Mongolia respects the rule of law, human rights, and freedoms, and seeks to incorporate these values into every single legislation, and thus further strengthen its values and ideas through democracy. Parliament of Mongolia made amendments to the Constitution of Mongolia based on the people's will, Mongolian people's will, and started the process of legal reform. The sense of the constitutional amendment is to further reinforce democracy and human rights in Mongolia. During the autumn session of the parliament, commencing on October 1st, we will pay special attention to continuing our efforts to delivering the constitutional amendments and further intensifying our legal reform. This day is celebrated around the world as the International Day of Democracy, a day when both international community and countries of the path of democracy re-evaluate and assess its democratic achievements and shortcomings. It is also an opportunity to highlight the role of national parliaments in the democratic process and emphasize the significance of justice, peace, prosperity, and human rights. Once again, on the occasion of this significant day, I would like to congratulate you and wish you every success in your work in the line of democracy. Thank you for your attention, Mr. Birla.
Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency. मैं अब नाबिया की नेशनल असेंबली के स्पीकर प्रोफेसर पीटर काटवा जावी से अपने विचार व्यक्त करने का आग्रह करता हूं।
Speaker of Rox Shamba, Honorable President of IPU, fellow speakers, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to extend warm greetings from the Parliament of Namibia. As part of the family of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, we annually, on the 15th of September, with the rest of the world, observe the International Day of Democracy. I'm therefore honored to join you this morning, distinguished presiding officers across India and other invited speakers from other parts of the world, to acknowledge and to celebrate the efforts undertaken by our respective parliaments worldwide in achieving and upholding the principles of democracy. The International Day of Democracy annually presents us a renewed opportunity to review the state of democracy in the world. It goes without saying that values such as the respect for human rights, respect for the rule of law, conducting free, fair, and credible elections through universal suffrage are the backbones of any democratic state. Ladies and gentlemen, the preamble of the Namibian Constitution reads, whereas as we, the people of Namibia, desire to promote amongst us the dignity of individual and the unity of integrity of the Namibian nation amongst and in association with the nations of the world. That statement underscores Namibia's commitment to the cause and the achievements of democracy in our country, as well as to exercise peaceful coexistence with the rest of the world to enable democracy and the rule of law to reign supreme. Ladies and gentlemen, parliaments are the critical key players in the advancement and strengthening of democracy across the world. But it is equally so important that democracy is felt at grassroots in our own countries and not used as a means of meeting international standards. Parliaments is the representative of citizens' voices, and our mandate must ensure that those voices are protected in order for citizens to continue or being encouraged to undertake their civil obligations and responsibilities, thereby strengthening our nations in governance structures. This conference, therefore, presents us with an opportunity to learn from the rich experiences of fellow presiding officers on the state of parliamentary democracy in India and the world. As in all, India Presiding Officers Conference marks 100 years since their existence. We will gladly learn and take note of some of the best achievements of this forum and use it to improve on aspects of democracy, especially in our young nations. It is important that parliaments across the world continue to advance the values of democracy for the betterment of our people. Having said that, I wish you, as one of the oldest democracies in the world, all the best as we continue to charter the better world for all our citizens. Thank you for having us. It's a great pleasure to be part of this important event. Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's a great pleasure to be part of this important event. Thank you.
थैंक यू एक्सलेंसी। मैं एक्सलेंसी महामहिम श्रीलंका के स्पीकर महेंद्र यापा अबेवर्धना जी से आग्रह करता हूं कि वह अपने विचार व्यक्त करें।
Good morning, good evening, His Excellency Om Birla, Speaker of Lok Sabha, Your Excellency President of IPU, Honorable Speakers and Presiding Officers, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. I am deeply honored and privileged to address the conference to mark the centenary year of All India Presiding Officers Conference. This is a very special day that we also commemorate the International Day of Democracy as declared by United Nations General Assembly in 2007. At the very inception, let me express my sincere gratitude for His Excellency Om Birla, Speaker of Lok Sabha, for inviting me to address this conference. The theme today is very much close to our hearts as presiding officers of parliaments. In India and Sri Lanka, parliamentary democracy is well established. Sri Lanka faced two insurrections and prolonged separatist war and even military coup attempt over years. Despite these serious challenges, we have been able to preserve parliamentary democracy. Sri Lanka's legislature has a long and somewhat checkered history that defined its formative years. It is the oldest parliament elected by universal adult franchise in Asia. As close neighbors, India and Sri Lanka share many common standards of connectivity. Both countries have an ancient history and rich heritage. The Commonwealth countries, our governing system, were greatly influenced by Westminster system. Our relationship encompasses many facets. Of course, Buddhism is the greatest blessing that we received from India. In fact, the Buddhist philosophy carried the way essence of democratic governance. In the modern era, the economic and democratic cooperation between two countries is significant, and Sri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, addressed the Parliament of Sri Lanka on 13 March 2015. As the most important democratic neighbor of Sri Lanka and as the largest democracy in the world, how India's legislature functions in a multi-religious, multi-ethnic society offers many valuable lessons for not only for us, also as neighbors, but even to the scholars of democratic governance. Transparency and accountability are cornerstones of good democratic governance, and Sri Lanka Parliament has adopted a policy of open parliament with the intention of enhancing citizen participation and engagement in the parliamentary process. The initiative is expected to narrow the gap between the parliament and the citizens, making the representatives directly questionable and responsible to the public. After enactment of Right of Information Bill, the Parliament of Sri Lanka took the decision to open sessions of committees on public accounts and public enterprises to the media, and thereby to the public. It is a significant step towards strengthening parliamentary democracy system and will pave the way for greater transparency and accountability. Parliament of Sri Lanka has a vibrant committee system. Among many committees, the consultative committees play a key role in creating a forum and for the members of Parliament and the Cabinet of Ministers to interact directly in addressing many relevant issues pertaining to their respective portfolios. The Committee of Selection at the commencement of every session of Parliament appoints consultative committees for each ministry. The reports of the consultative committee are represented to the Parliament. In addition, Parliament has taken steps recently to reach the public through the newly established Department of Communication. It is expected to expand the knowledge on parliamentary process and it's important to uphold democracy among the population, particularly targeting the school children who are the future flag bearers of democracy. It may be relevant to note that impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the functioning of Parliament. The Parliament has continued with its usual sittings, even though the number of sitting days were curtailed to minimize the risk involved with the members and the staff of Parliament. However, through vaccination and application of strict health regulations, we have been able to ensure effective functioning and many committees meet virtually through online system, even though the House meets on its conventional way in the main chamber of the Parliament. Before I conclude, let me mention few pertinent points in terms of fostering effective and meaningful democracy. Parliamentary democracy is not confined to periodic elections. It is a day-to-day continuation of consultative and transparent governance and ultimately ensure wisdom, equity, justice, prosperity, and to all its citizens. Parliaments are for healthy debate, discussions, and finally reaching the best possible agreement on issues. The ultimate measure of successful democracy is how countries poorest most helpless citizens are treated and benefited through the democratic process. People's representatives should focus more on improving the standards of living of all citizens in an equitable manner. Eradicating poverty, reducing economic disparities, and achieving overall development of a country should be the top priorities of all legislators. The Parliament is in the position not only to keep the executive under constant vigil and scrutiny through its oversight mechanism, but also to guide with good advice to achieve the best possible result for its representatives. Questions, debates, advisory committees, watchdog committees, and no confidence motions can be mentioned has few such tools in the hands of the legislature to both assist and control the executive. The legislature also has an important role to play in eliminating corruption. Corruption contravenes the very principles of transparency, accountability, and equity that underpin democracy. It hampers the socio-economic development of all nations. Democracy requires the participation of all citizens. The parliaments are mandated to deliver on justice, peace, development, and human rights. In this regard, prudent attention of citizens' needs, inclusiveness, accountability, and political tolerance should be ensured. The importance of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals should be highlighted for this purpose. Let me conclude this by saying that all legislators in our paramount duty to strengthen parliamentary democracy, sound economic programs for poverty alleviation and development, peace, security, quality education, good healthcare, environmental protection are key features of true democracy. I wish fruitful deliberations and successful conclusion of this conference. Thank you very much. I wish fruitful deliberations and successful conclusion of this conference. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद एक्सेलेंसी, थैंक यू एक्सेलेंसी। मैं अब जिम्बाब्वे नेशनल असेंबली के ऑनरेबल स्पीकर श्री JFN मुंडेडा जी को आग्रह करता हूं कि वह अपने विचार व्यक्त करें।
Your Excellency, thank you. Your Excellency, the Speaker of the Indian Parliament, Right Honorable Birla, Your Excellency, IPU President, Mr. Duarte Pacheco, dear colleagues, let me preface my brief remarks by extending my profound commendations to the Parliament of India for organizing this political engagement on the occasion of commemorating the International Day of Democracy, aptly themed the role of the legislature in fostering effective and meaningful democracy. This day comes against the backdrop of the vagaries and existential threats posed to our democracies by the invisible yet devastating hand of the COVID-19 pandemic. I am therefore emboldened by the belief that our convention here will clear the pathway towards fostering effective and meaningful democracy in our countries. Allow me from the onset to reminisce and call to mind the words of the eminent Indian jurist, economist, politician, and social reformer, B.R. Ambedkar, who opined that, and I quote, "Democracy is not a form of government, but a form of social organization," unquote. Rightly so, on this day that we commemorate democracy, we also ought to introspect on how we have adjudged the discourse on democracy within our different nations. Our observance of this day is reflective of Ambedkar's invisible conviction that we need to redefine the dogma of democracy. We ought not to continue viewing democracy as a form of government, but as a conduit through which we can reorganize our sometimes divided society through the representative institutions of our parliaments. It is potential that we view democracy not as a measure of development, but as the culvert through which we water the seas of shared socio-economic growth and development. It is further critical, dear colleagues, that we also view democracy not as justice and the rule of law tenet, but the paradigm against which justice and supremacy of the law is attested. Essentially, in the words of John Rawls, an American political philosopher, democracy should be the means of guaranteeing justice as fairness. Further to that, it is indispensable that we move away from defining democracy as transparency and accountability, but as a framework that prescribes the best democratic practices towards attaining those two cardinal values. Our state institutions, ministries, departments, and agencies ought to affirm that true democracy rests on accountability and transparency in establishing who should govern the people and how that governance must ride on limited state power and authority. As Prime Minister Modi of India once opined that, and I quote him, "Good governance cannot remain merely a philosophy. Mere good governance is not enough. It has to be pro-people and proactive. Good governance is putting people at the center of the development process," unquote. True to this affirmation, it behoves parliamentarians in a democratic society that our legislative agenda is to ensure that it is pro-people, pro-poor, and inclusive in all the respects of human endeavor. Yet, dear colleagues, I cannot overemphasize the multiplicity of factors that have threatened democracy tenet globally. It is prominently axiomatic that the exigencies of the COVID-19 pandemic have redefined the democratic governance discourse almost in reverse gear of its attenuation. Worryingly, this time of crisis also gave rise to the threat of vaccine nationalism, where some of the privileged countries with the technology and research capacity manufactured vaccines primarily for their nationals, as opposed to sharing with less developed countries in this true spirit of multilateralism. To date, over 1.4 billion vaccines have been manufactured, but Africa has only received just slightly over 2% of those. We ought to ask ourselves if these are the ideals of the global democratic system that we all envisage and hanker after. It therefore behoves parliaments as the epitome of democracy to steer the transformative agenda of building back better and reclaiming the envisaged ideals of democracy in our societies. Our parliaments should ensure that measures taken against the spread of coronavirus are proportionate and do not infringe upon fundamental rights, the rule of law, and constitutionalism. Herein lies the bedrock of Parliament's oversight role in enhancing meaningful and effective democracy. It is therefore palpable that India has been one of the tested beacons of sustainable democracy, notwithstanding the fact that there is no universally accepted barometer by which one can measure the true scales of distinctive democracy. On that score, let our two legislatures of India and Zimbabwe, let alone others globally, continue to share and nurture
His Excellency, Shri Om Birla, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, the President of the IPU, distinguished presiding officers and deputy presiding officers, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the members of the National Assembly of Mauritius and in my own name, I convey to you the warmest greeting of the people of Mauritius. It is my singular honor and privilege as Deputy Speaker to address this conference today in context of the celebration of the International Democracy Day, which coincides with the centenarian of All India Conference of Presiding Officers. Allow me also to place on record my appreciation to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Shri Om Birla, for bringing together the presiding officers to this forum. Distinguished presiding officers, deputy presiding officers, ladies and gentlemen, I do not intend to explain democracy or the function of parliament. I shall, however, demonstrate how it works in Mauritius. Since its accession to independence more than half a century ago, Mauritius has a written constitution and has always demonstrated adherence to fundamental rights and freedom of its citizens for a harmonious society despite its multi-ethnicity. In Mauritius, the Constitution provides for the National Assembly to be renewed every 5 years through free and fair election, Based on the principle of separation of powers, our parliament assumes its role independently of the other arms of government. Our parliament has full latitude within the parameters of standing orders and rule to play their role fully in exercising oversight over the executive. Inasmuch as democracy is not only about laws that are voted, but also how they are voted. The three aspects which I would like to highlight about the motion parliament is the role of women. Is necessary, but is not only necessary, but also complementary to that of man in a vibrant democracy. The motion parliament has in 2016 set up a formal parliamentary gender caucus regrouping members of parliament of both genders across party representation in the National Assembly to work for a common cause, that is to work for the promotion and attainment of gender equality. Secondly, with regard to youth, considering that youth will be called upon to play an important role in the future, a National Youth Parliament was launched in 2018 with a view to engaging the youth in the democratic process of the country. It would be important also for me to talk about the effect of COVID on the Parliament. I'm pleased to inform you that its August gathering, that the motion parliament has showed its resilience amid COVID-19 pandemic. Structural changes have been brought promptly to the chambers, ensuring that all 70 MPs can attend and participate in parliamentary sitting to carry out its business of overseeing the action of the executive. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to democracy, you will agree with me that there is no room for complacency. I can reassure all of you that the motion parliament will continue in its endeavor in fostering effective and meaningful democracy. Before ending my speech, it will be very important for me to state out the role of the speakers. With your permission, I shall state it in Hindi, then I'll translate it in English. हमारा काम देश को चलाना नहीं है, मगर हमारा धर्म ये है कि जो चला रहा है उसकी हिसाब किताब रखना. Translated as, it is not our job as president to run the country, but it is our duty to hold to account those who do. Let me take this opportunity to thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
थैंक यू एक्सलेंसी. मित्रों विदेशों से हमारे
from foreign countries. Some other dignitaries are also there. Deputy Speaker, Bhutan National Assembly, Honorable Parliamentarian from Kenya, Russian Federations, some honorable members from Russian Federation. I thank them also. Now among us, our Deputy Chairman, Upper House, Shri Harivansh Raji. I request him to thank you.
Across the world and Honorable IPU President. We are going to commence discussions in the conference being held to commemorate the centenary year of Presiding Officers Conference in India. If you wish, you can take part in this program or exit it as per your convenience. We met in Austria and exchange our views on different issues, including COVID-19. On behalf of Indian Parliament, once again, I express my sincere thanks and gratitude. I thank you all for joining this conference. Thank you.
जुड़ना चाहे ठीक. माननीय पीठासीन अधिकारीगण,
Honorable Presiding Officers, Today we have discussed in this conference with the presiding officers of various countries, and I thank them also. Today, in the conference of this presiding officers, this is the centenary today, and for this I thank you all too. The first conference of presiding officers was held in 1921 in Shimla, and this conference has completed its 100 years, and I hope that after completing 100 years we will again move towards the natural beauty of Himalaya, and we will meet in Shimla, Himachal Pradesh. In this journey of 10 decades, we have achieved our freedom also, and we have framed our constitution also. The creator of this constitutes kept in mind the aspirations of the people of our country, and they followed this parliamentary system in this long journey of democracy. Through our opinion and experience, we have strengthened this democracy, and all these democratic institutions have been strengthened by us during this period and during the last 100 years. In this conference of presiding officers, whatever resolutions and decisions have been taken, this is the high time that we should implement these resolutions and decisions which have been taken by us in the past, and we have to make the action plan to implement these resolutions. As you all know that the base of this democracy depends on the accountability of the representatives of the people, and these legislative bodies are the institutions through which we do this work. And being the public representatives, we are expected that other institutions and organizations in our country, we should work as a role model, and we should work and we should establish the highest models of discipline, and the role of the representatives is decided by their conduct. Being a public representative, it is expected from him that in the house and outside the house he should behave in a dignified way, and he should follow the values of the house. And this has been very unfortunate. We have seen in the last time that the improper conduct of honorable members is increasing day by day. That is why the image of these constitutional bodies is decreasing. So as a presiding officers, this is our prime responsibility, that the behavior and the conduct of honorable members should be established with high morals, and we have to establish it, and we have to keep it in mind that in our constitution everything is mentioned, and we should move according to the norms given in the constitution. So I request all honorable presiding officers that we should make such plans, and we have to think over this issue. I have some ideas. I have some suggestions also. So in this centennial year of this presiding officers conference, and on this great occasion of our freedom, I would like to share these ideas on this great occasion, so that we all share our good ideas, because when we meet in Shimla in future, then all these programs may be given in the full existence, and your suggestions are also welcome so that we may plan accordingly. My opinion is that during last 100 years we have completed 81 conferences. Whatever decisions and resolutions have been passed in this conference, how we can implement all of them, how we can make plans to execute these resolutions and plans. So we have to think over this issue also in this year. Today in our country, in parliament and in legislative bodies, there should be a deliberation on the issue of discipline and code of conduct in the houses. Earlier also in 1992 and in 1997 and in 2001, we have held discussions on these issues, especially that time also the chief ministers of the states and opposition leaders, parliamentary affairs ministers of the states, and the leaders of all parties have participated in such conferences, and some resolutions were passed in these meetings. I hope that again after 21 years in 2020 we have to sit along and we have to discuss this issue, the code of conduct and discipline in the house, so that we can take some stringent steps in this regard. I think after completing the 75 years of our freedom, I want that all parliamentarians from the whole country and the legislators from the whole country, they should be a big conference. We can think over this also. And the fourth thing is, after completing 75 years of our freedom, we have decided in IPG that the sitting and ex-honorable parliamentarians who have completed their age of 75 years and they have very good experience, a long experience, a conference should be held for them also. So in this way, you can do the same for the legislators and ex-parliamentarians who have completed the age of 75 years, and you can make such plan to get the benefit of their experience. And the fifth point is that in this parliamentary system, Public Accounts Committee is a very important committee. It controls the whole accounts of the country, and it establishes the transparency in the system and the governance. This year, on 4th and 5th December, Public Accounts Committee has decided that it is also completing its 100 years. There should be a big program on this also. The chairman of PSCs from the whole world and the chairmen from the states also. So you can think over this also. There should be a conference on this occasion also, and I hope your important suggestions are invited on this issue also. In the same way, the democratic institutions in our country, legislative assemblies and Lok Sabha, the women and young parliamentarians should also participate in a conference, and their experience and their ideas should be invited, so that in the coming time our parliaments may get the benefit of their young ideas also. Seventh point is all the legislative bodies in the country, the democratic institutions like village panchayats and municipal corporations, the states may conduct some conference in their states. The pride of Lok Sabha in 4 states and the lowest pillar of democracy on village level panchayats, they have conducted some conferences and it has shown some good results. I hope that state legislatures may also plan in the same line so that such conferences may be held in the states also, and we can strengthen the democracy in our country and how we can conduct the business in the house. We can deliberate on this issue also, and I hope that your precious suggestions will be shared before we meet in the conference to be held in Shimla. And from time to time, I hope your suggestions will be giving. And whenever you visit Delhi, you should visit here so that your suggestions may be taken and the benefit of the suggestion may be taken in future also. So I invite your suggestions here, and we will meet next time. Then we will implement all these resolutions and decisions we have taken during this time. And after completing the 100 years of our conference, we will celebrate this occasion. I thank you all.
अब मैं असम विधानसभा
Now the Speaker of Himachal has to go in some another program. So first of all, I request Speaker Himachal Legislative Assembly, I invite him to express his views here. Shri Vipin Singh Parmar ji.
धन्यवाद। अखिल भारतीय पीठासीन अधिकारियों के इस सम्मेलन में मुख्य रूप से उपस्थित हमारे मार्गदर्शक, प्रेरणा स्रोत एवं हमारे आदरणीय लोकसभा के स्पीकर श्री ओम बिरला जी, हिंदुस्तान के अलग अलग प्रांतों से इस वर्चुअल सम्मेलन में जुड़े हुए माननीय स्पीकर, पीठासीन अधिकारी, विभिन्न देशों से इस सम्मेलन में जुड़े हुए स्पीकर साहिबान, उपस्थित महानुभाव, मुझे ये बताते हुए प्रसन्नता हो रही है आज से 100 वर्ष पहले पूरे देश के पीठासीन अधिकारियों का पहला सम्मेलन 14 व 16 सितंबर 1921 यही शिमला में आयोजित हुआ था। इसलिए ये शताब्दी वर्ष के रूप में भी आयोजित हो रहा है। मुझे इस बात का गर्व है कि जहां से मैं वर्चुअली सभी से जुड़ा हूं, यहीं पर 100 वर्ष पहले पूरे देश के पीठासीन अधिकारियों को यहाँ इकट्ठा होने का मौका और लोकतंत्र के ऊपर
had the opportunity to
चर्चा
gather here
करने का सौभाग्य
to
प्राप्त हुआ।
discuss issues relating to democracy.
हिमाचल प्रदेश में समय समय पर
In
पीठासीन
Himachal
अधिकारियों के सम्मेलन होते रहे।
presiding officers conference were held in Himachal Pradesh from time to time.
वर्ष 1921, 1926, 1939,
1926,
1976
39,
तथा 1997 में आयोजित किए जा चुके हैं।
in 1997, these conferences have been organized here in Himachal Pradesh.
और मुझे ये बताते हुए प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि विठल भाई पटेल
Informed that Vittal Bhai Patel
जी ने यहाँ पर भी समय समय पर इन पीठासीन अधिकारियों में लोकतंत्र की मजबूती के लिए व देश के अलग अलग प्रांतों में इस प्रकार के सम्मेलन होने चाहिए।
and so that we have such conferences in other parts of the country as well.
1950 के बाद अलग अलग प्रांतों में इस प्रकार के सम्मेलन पीठासीन अधिकारियों के सम्मेलन शुरू हुए थे।
Of country, such conferences were organized.
आज लोकतंत्र दिवस भी है। इसके लिए मैं आप सभी को हार्दिक बधाई प्रेषित करता हूं। लोकतंत्र शासन व्यवस्था का एक प्रकार है। ये एक ऐसी व्यवस्था है जहां जनता सरकार को चुनती है और पूरे विश्व की तरफ नजर दौड़ाई जाए तो हिंदुस्तान डेमोक्रेसी में सबसे बड़ा देश है। देश को आजादी के उपरांत जब संविधान वर्ष 1950 में लागू किया गया, जो दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लिखित संविधान है, जिसमें शक्तियां प्रदान की गई, जिसमें हमारे अधिकार क्या है उनका उल्लेख किया गया, और लोकतंत्र की इस व्यवस्था की मजबूती के लिए विधायिका, कार्यपालिका तथा न्यायपालिका जो तीन स्तंभ हैं, उनमें आपस में तालमेल, सामंजस्य जिसका जिक्र वहां पर किया गया है, ये हिंदुस्तान के लोकतंत्र की खूबसूरती है। यूएनओ ने वर्ष 2007 में रेजोल्यूशन अडॉप्ट किया और 2008 में डेमोक्रेसी, इंटरनेशनल डेमोक्रेसी डे के रूप में इसको मनाया गया, कार्यक्रम के रूप में आयोजित किया गया। और इस पहल को अब वर्षों 2007-8 से लेकर के वर्तमान समय में इसको हर प्रदेश में, हर देश में कार्यक्रम के रूप में मनाया जाता है। और लोकतंत्र की पहचान व खूबसूरती यही है कि जनता सरकार बनाती है, जनता के लिए, जनता के द्वारा, और ये प्रणाली हिंदुस्तान में बहुत बखूबी से इस जिम्मेवारी को सरकारें निभाती है। मैं यही कहना चाहता हूं। मेरा सुझाव है कि लोकतंत्र तथा संसदीय प्रणाली की मजबूती के लिए इस प्रकार के जो सम्मेलन है, पीठासीन अधिकारियों के सम्मेलन है, ये अलग अलग प्रदेशों में आयोजित होने चाहिए और होते भी हैं, ताकि हम उसके ऊपर चर्चा कर सकें और अगर कोई पेचीदगियां हैं, कोई सामंजस्य की कमी है, तो उसको हम दूर कर सकें और लोकतंत्र की मजबूती के लिए हम क्या सुझाव उन पीठासीन अधिकारियों में सम्मेलन में रेजोल्यूशन प्रस्ताव के माध्यम से हल कर सकते हैं, ये मैं अपेक्षा करता हूं। क्योंकि पीठासीन अधिकारियों के सम्मेलन हमारे लिए संवाद का एक खुला मंच रहता है, जहां पर हम अपने प्रदेश की अनुकूलता या जो पेचीदगियां हैं उनको ध्यान में रखते हुए अपनी बात को हम वहां पर कह सकते हैं। आप सभी को 81वें अखिल भारतीय पीठासीन अधिकारियों के इस सम्मेलन में भाग लेने के लिए व मुझे भी अपना विचार रखने का मौका मिला, धन्यवाद। यहाँ पर एक विषय आया है कि 100 वर्ष पहले यहाँ पहला पीठासीन अधिकारियों का सम्मेलन हुआ था और यहाँ ये भी चर्चा हुई है कि इस पीठासीन अधिकारियों के सम्मेलन की इस शताब्दी वर्ष कार्यक्रम को शिमला में मनाया जाए, तो मैं इसके लिए निमंत्रण देता हूं, ताकि हमारे हिंदुस्तान के तमाम पीठासीन अधिकारी शिमला में जो पहाड़ों की रानी है वहां पर आएं और इस लोकतंत्र की मजबूती के लिए इस व्यवस्था को हम क्या अपना योगदान दे सकते हैं। तो मैं अपनी ओर से माननीय जो हमारे मार्गदर्शक हैं, प्रेरणा स्रोत हैं, श्री ओम बिड़ला जी को भी मैं अपने इस सचिवालय की ओर से निमंत्रित निवेदन करता हूं कि आप हिमाचल प्रदेश की देवभूमि, वीरों की भूमि में आकर के आप हमें आशीर्वाद देंगे। आपका स्वागत, आपका अभिवादन, मुझे आपने समय सबसे पहले दिया, इसके लिए धन्यवाद, क्योंकि माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी परसों कल आ रहे हैं और उन तैयारियों में हम लगे हुए हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद स्पीकर महोदय। अब मैं असम विधानसभा के अध्यक्ष श्री विश्वजीत दोईमारी जी को आग्रह करता हूं कि वह अपने विचार व्यक्त करें। असम असेंबली के स्पीकर साहब। असम